break over now. We're going back in depth. Serious face. So, obviously, you've had a few scares, and there was another big scare that came along, in the form of skin cancer.
In the form of skin cancer, yeah.
So would you like to share what started the initial worry? What the initial was, where and how you got confirmed diagnosis? What happened with that?
So I'm going to start by saying this all happened in a 12-month period. It's hard to believe, but it all happened in a 12-month period. And when I finish telling you this, that's how this cookbook came. It's called Nourish, how it came to kind of into fruition, if you like. So I had a blemish on the left side of my nose. And it started off as just a little teeny tiny like white spot. It wasn't a spot as much as it was raised or anything. It was just a patch of skin that had turned white, very, very small.
Okay.
And insignificant. And I couldn't see it when I had makeup on, but I took my makeup off and I'd see it.
But you're aware of it.
And I was aware of it. And it was a nothing thing really. And I think also as you get older, your skin changes, you do get marks. People talk about old age spots and your body changes, things appear on your body that are not, sinister, but you notice changes.
Yeah.
And so I had noticed this and I'd kind of gone, clock that, I'll, keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
And then it had grown. So I'd gone to see my GP, and most doctor surgeries, you're registered with the practice, aren't you? Not an actual GP themselves.
You are, yeah.
So when you phone up, if they answer the phone anyway, and then you beg for an appointment, I just kissed your mic, I'm sorry. And you beg for an appointment, you get what you're given. So I'd gone to see my GP and he'd had a good look at it and he'd gone, no, nothing to worry about. Great. So I went, didn't give it any more thought for about 12 months. And then this particular day, I don't know, I thought that's really significantly grown. That thing's gotten much, 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 much bigger. But because I wear makeup all the time, again, I don't stop to analyze. It's more like, do I need Botox? It's more that than this. So I went back again, phoned up, went to see a different GP. This GP looked at it and said, no, it's absolutely fine. It doesn't, nothing to worry about. So
right.
I've now gone again. So so now I'm almost thinking, am I being really paranoid about this? No, because they say if things change or they grow, you should get checked out. Then I started to notice it in pictures. And when I say I started to notice it in pictures, there was a slight dip. It became undulated. So I could pick it up. So when the light would catch from certain angles, I could see like a divot at the side of my nose. And I thought, I'm going back again now. This is ridiculous. So when I went back again, so same GP surgery, I had the third different GP now. And he said it was vertigo. Right. Now, although I wear really dark false tan, I'm as grey can be. I have literally zero melanin in my skin. I do not tan. And when I was younger, I grew up on a council estate in Liverpool where every other house had a sunbed in their house. Right. They were like canopies that you'd roll over your bed, and it used to be like
had one.
Your parents had one, and it used to be like a funny thing that of a night time, like, oh look, they've got all these ultraviolet lights would go on in the area, like everyone had sunbeds, and we were the same. We had one, and my friends would come around and use it, and so on. You could rent them from companies and all sorts.
That was a hype.
It
really was a hype. I
it was a thing.
Got one, and so they had it upstairs, and they had a special bed, and they'd pull it over and use it here and there. It was definitely like, it's a bit of a hype train, wasn't it?
You were well fancy. If you had a sunbed, everyone wanted to be your mate. Yeah. So we had one. Ours had like 20 tubes or something. Ours was like well fancy. But anyway, so I had used sunbeds at the time. And again, back then, it's like smoking, isn't it? That you don't realise the risks. So there was no real, sunbeds are going to give you skin cancer. There was no, all you wanted to do, which is ironic because I was so grey anyway. So all that would happen is I'd go slightly pink and then I could put false tan on it and look like I actually had a tan. But it just made me feel, and you used to laugh and say, I'm going to have a 6-minute holiday, and you'd feel great and relaxed at the end of it. So you didn't really realize it was a problem. And I had abused sunbeds when I was younger, probably not more than most people, but I had definitely used sunbeds quite a lot. And then, so I went back and he space because it was vertigo. And I said, well, how can it? So vertigo, for those of you that don't know, is when you have like white patches appear on your skin, and it tends to be in darker skin types that get vertigo. Okay. So Winnie Harlow, the famous supermodel, she has vertigo. So she has this like formation of white patterns all over her dark skin.
My cousin has it.
Yeah. So to get that on very, very pale skin is is again very, very rare. And I remember saying this to him, saying, you know, this is really unusual. You know, we have had skin cancer in our family. No, it's vitiligo. Off you go. So I did. So this is the third time. So at this point, I am not going back to the GP again. Like, I am actually becoming quite ridiculous about this. I've got this in my head and I need to let this go. And it was maybe another 12 months later. My mum was up at my house at the time and I didn't have any makeup on, and she went, "What's that on your nose?" Because I'm so used to covering it. And I said, "Oh, Mum, this, I've been the GP over this multiple times." And she went, "Don't like it, Lise, don't like it one little bit. You need to go and see someone private." So I did. So I saw Dr. Maman at Renniker's Hospital, made a private consultation with him, walked into the room, and within minutes of being in the room, he said to me, "I'm fairly certain it's a basal cell carcinoma." And he said, "We have to biopsy it to know for certain, but we're going to biopsy it. I'll bring you back. We'll get it biopsied and we'll get the results in like sort of 6 weeks time, and then we can deal with it." So I did. Off I went, had my biopsy. My biopsy was a nightmare because I was on blood thinners. So I remember blood being like a blood bath. Had my biopsy and just kind of got on with it. And then went back for the results, and we were in a room and I was sat there, and I'd actually had, because I'd gone privately at this point, it was a really costly exercise. So the consultation was a couple of £100, but then it had been like another £1,000 just to have the biopsy.
Right, okay.
And he had recommended that I go to another private hospital that he also works at, because it was £500 cheaper to have the biopsy done there. So it was literally just down the road. Okay. So I had gone to see him at Renniker's at the original hospital for my results, and he then had to phone through to the other hospital to get my results. So there was kind of like this, like, you know, while we're all sitting there waiting and he's on the phone, you know, music playing. "Oh, they're just going to check for you." Right. Yeah. Be right back. So while we were waiting, I said to him, "Okay, so let's play devil's advocate here. You know, if it comes back and it is skin cancer, like, what are we looking at?" And he said, "Well, if it is a basal cell carcinoma, there are multiple different types. And, you know, worst case scenario is a morphic type. And the reason why these are a problem," he said, "that they're not going to kill you." He said, "But they are very, very aggressive in as much as they attach themselves to skin and attach themselves to muscle and to soft tissue and to bone." He said, "So they're very, very disruptive and destructive." He said, "So that's what we don't want it to be." I was like, "Okay, fine." And then he goes, and then he kind of puts his finger up, pauses, and the lady's come back on the phone, and she goes, "I've found it." And he goes, "Right, can you read it to me?" Now the acoustics in this room, bearing in mind, we could hear this entire conversation. So although he's on the phone, I can hear everything she's saying. Right. And she read, and she's in the lesion size, blah, 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 blah. And it is a morphic BCC, basal cell. So he had literally just explained to me in this lull of time that that's the type we didn't want. Right. And I didn't react very well to that. I really didn't react very well to that. I think I took everything else in my stride with that. I didn't react very well because on my face. And I was angry because I've over a 2-year period, I've vigilantly been back. I've sought 3 medical opinions on this. Yeah. And now you're telling me, you just told me how disruptive these things can be. I know it's been there for 2 years minimum. I was aware of it 2 years ago. How big is this thing? What? It's on my face. So there's lots of things that went through my mind, and we just basically asked him what the outcome was going to be, what the next pathway was going to be. And he said, "I'm going to give you some plastic surgeon's details. I recommend if you can afford to go privately, that you go privately. If it were my wife, I would go privately with this, given how long it's been there and given its location." And he said, so he recommended 3 plastic surgeons. And I was very fortunate that one of those plastic surgeons is the head of something. He's the head of the plastic surgeon committee for the whole of the UK, specifically dealing in skin cancers. He's a great person as well. He's become a friend, as you can imagine. And he basically just, I don't know what to say really about him. He was all the difference for me. I was very fortunate that we could afford to go privately. And I remember meeting him for the first time and just saying to him, you know, what's the worst case scenario? And he said, the worst case scenario is if it's taken a hold, we could be looking at prosthetic nose. He said, and, you know, I will do everything I can for you within the best of my ability. And I remember saying to him, this sounds really arrogant, but I remember saying to him, whatever the best work is that you've done, I need you to do better, because it's on my face and it's on the center of my face. And he just took my hand and he went to me, you're going to be fine. I'm going to look after you. And that was it. He had my trust at that moment. Yeah. And then I went into a state of mourning, actually, because I'll be honest, do I think I'm the prettiest thing in the world? No. Do I spend a lot of time looking after myself? Yes. Did my vanity get the better of me? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think put a woman in front of you, not just a woman actually, but I will talk specifically about a woman. Put a woman in front of you that tries to look after themselves, that's had the year that I'd had so far, and then be told on the back of having made several attempts to find out what this is, be told, oh, by the way, oh, and it's there, and it's been there 2 years, and it's going to be very, very, and you're going to have surgery, and the outcome's unknown. Oh, by the way, and you may have to have a prosthetic nose. I fell to pieces. And I literally would honestly, I went into mourning leading up to that surgery.
Right.
What to say to that? Dramatically sad? Not much. No, it was hard. It was very, very hard. I actually think this was much harder than the stroke. If I'm really honest, yeah, I do. I really, really do. I think it was much, much harder than the stroke because I didn't know what I was going to look like afterwards, and there's no guaranteed outcome. So we went through the whole process and we decided on something called Mohs surgery. So Mohs surgery is the NHS will take, for every incision that they make, they'll basically take 6 mils worth of tissue. So they take more because the NHS, they don't want to have to keep going in. They just want to get it. So they're not thinking about the reconstructive element. They just want to get it out your body. They just want to get out your body. Obviously, when you go down the private route, they can afford to be a little bit more picky with that. So instead of 6 mil, they take 1 mil circumference, depths, and radius. So he's taking less, and then so they will take mil by mil and then go and sit you. Well, they then send that to an on-site lab and it will be analysed, and they can then say to the surgeon, right, so the top margin, you got 2/3 of it, so you need to work within that range. So that's how specific. So that's why it was 9 hours worth of surgery on and off, because it was just so they go in, and then he came back and he said to me, we didn't get it, we've got to go back in again, Lisa, we've got to go back in again, we're going to do a second round. And at the second round, he'd already said, right, we're already at skin graft stage now. So because they have to take the thing itself plus the margins. Right. So he said, we're already at the stage now where we need to do a skin graft. And if it goes beyond this, then we'll have to do something called a flap, where they then cut into your forehead and pull your forehead back. It's like really quite gruesome stuff. So, and again, COVID restrictions during the ward. My husband was outside in the waiting room. I'm in the ward on my own.
Yeah.
And lucky enough, after the second pass, he got all of the surgery. He got all of the cancer.
Right.
And then he did a skin graft.
Right. So on the second one, they got all of it.
Yeah, he did. But actually, interestingly enough, whilst I was actually on the operating table itself, he was trying to decide, because the skin, you don't really think about things like this, but the skin on the side of your nose is very specific. It's a very certain type of skin. Yeah. It's not as plumpous. It's thinner. There's nowhere to really take skin. It's really thin compared to and I hadn't thought about this. And also the size of the pores and things are different. So when he was trying to choose where to take skin from on my body, he was like trying to match things up, and then really, I mean, this is actually, I shouldn't even be saying this, but I'm going to say it. He was going to take skin from one part of my body, and he said, I can't do that because, you have little tiny downy blonde hairs on your body. Yeah. And he said, when we take the skin graft and we basically graft it onto the area, he said, we want it to be vascular, we want to give it a blood supply. And he said, and if it's an area that's used to growing hair, it'll grow hair and you'll end up with a hairy patch on the side of your nose. I was like, oh, what? We're telling me this now? Find an area with no hair. So as he was like looking around my body, he tapped on my back because I had a gown on, obviously, and you're all like kind of obviously surgical conditions, and he kind of pulled the gown down. He said to me, what's this? And I said, oh, it's like a little dry patch. I said, it's from a barbell. It's from a callus from a barbell. And he said, it's not a callus from a barbell, Lisa. And he said, I'm going to biopsy while we're here. I'm going to take a biopsy of this while we're here today as well.
That's why he was doing that?
Whilst he was actually
taking the cancer
off. Whilst he was actually looking at my body, trying to find an area to take skin from the skin graft, he found something, and he said to me, so he's speaking to his nurse, and he was like, get me a such and such and such, I'm going to biopsy this over here now. So he took a biopsy. Now, I'll be honest with you, he did it, and I didn't think anything of that whatsoever in that moment. I was just like, an injection goes in, you're numb, and can't see it. And then he settled, so right along my clavicle here, he took probably about this big. It's quite sizable, but you can't see it because it's right on the clavicle. So you literally you cannot see it. And he took a massive chunk of skin, and then that's what he used to graft onto the side of my nose. Right. And then it's all dressed and everything. And then, you know, I was kept in recovery for a little while, and then I was sent home. And then when I went back to see him instead in the clinic 4 weeks later, he said to me, it's come back, Lisa, it's another morphic BCC. It's going to need to be operated on. So whilst I was there, I said to him, can you show me a picture of what it actually looked like? And it just looked like a teeny tiny little piece of like eczema, like a tiny little patch of dry skin. It was like a nothing thing. And I said to him, I've got four more of these on my body. I said that actually, the more I think about it, like they come and they go, but I don't have eczema. And he was like, right, let's get those biopsied. So we biopsied them, and they all came back as morphic BCCs. So then I had to go back in again for more surgery, and they were all removed as well. So yeah, so purely by fluke of having to do that, he found the rest of them as well.
Talk about when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, literally, quite literally. So, and then I also had an abnormal smear come back the month after that. So then I had to be screened for cervical cancer. And then in January of this year, I had to go and have a mammogram and be screened for breast cancer, because I also had a breast cancer scare. So it takes its toll. It takes its toll.
Of course it does. It takes its toll. You feel like something's fighting you to an extent. It's just... trying to bring you down. I don't know. It's.
Have you ever thought it becomes laughable though? It's not laughable. Obviously, none of it's laughable.
It's serious.
But it becomes laughable because it's just like,
you think, what's next?
Better not step out on the pavement. There's a bus about a mile away that's probably got my name on it. You know, you start laughing and thinking, Jesus, and then you get a real taste for life.
Yeah.
A real taste for life where you just think, why am I second guessing this? Why am I second guessing that? This person doesn't like me. I'm not really, you know, I don't care. No. I don't care anymore, because it really puts things into perspective. It gives you a whole different viewpoint on a lot of different things.
Of course it does. Yeah.
And it's so for me, I also realized I am so mentally strong, and outlook is a humongous thing. So at no point did I go, why me? Why me? Why is this happening? At no point, absolutely not. And I used to laugh and think, well, what's happening to me? It's obviously coming my way because someone up there knows I can handle this. And I'll just have to train my shoulders even bigger to burden it. All right. I love shoulders day. So let's do that. And that was kind of there was a lot of humor. Yeah. There was a lot of humor. I remember getting told off by my cousin once. She said to me, you can't say that, I've had a stroke. And she was like, you can't. And I was like, well, I have. And she was like, you can't say that. And I was like, I just did. I'll have the last cookie. I've had a stroke. We used to laugh and joke about it. And she was like, you can't keep using this. Like, but humor's a real good antidote, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is. And it's probably what kept you sane, if I'm completely honest.
I mean, I've got a totally inappropriate sense of humor. Yeah. So that definitely kept me going. And I'm surrounded by a lot of very, very empathetic people. So I had some real solid people around me, and I still do to this day, who they say you find out who your friends are, and I really, really did find out who my friends are, and my friends are just the best. They are very pragmatic, right? Come on, pick yourself up, dust yourself. Well, you can cry, get your nose, get over it. Get over it.
But sometimes that's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah. So what, you'll have a prosthetic nose, you'll be here. Yeah. And it'll be the best prosthetic nose anyone's ever had. Plus, you've got an excuse to buy more makeup. Stop whining. You know, it literally was like, my friends are like that. Boo hoo 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 hoo. Get on. And so I was like, okay then. Yeah. You know, and I laugh about that now, but it's priceless to have friends like that around you that don't. They'll let you wallow. Okay, you can have an hour, and then pick yourself up and off we're gonna go. Yeah. So I wasn't really a choice to not be strong during that time. No.
So that was, so you can always kind of answer my next question, really.
Yes.
So that was your main support network. Was it more so your friends?
Yeah, I would say, well, obviously I'm a family, very much so. But
obviously you've got a business to keep running and a family to support as well. So, you know, you've got a lot of, you know, plates you're spinning here.
There's a lot of inconsistency as well in everything at this point, because it was very much stop, start, because it was like, oh, you can train. Oh, no, you can't train. Oh, we're going to operate on you. Oh, your biopsies, you can't train. So there was a lot of interruptions. There's a lot of interruptions. And my clients, but I mean, I'm very, very, very fortunate. My clients were so incredibly understanding, because I'd be like, hi, it's me. I can't train tomorrow. I've got to go and have another biopsy. I've got to do. And they were just like, okay, no worries, Lisa, let's. And they've stuck with me. They've been loyal right throughout this. They've been really supportive and understanding of the fact that there was a lot of inconsistency with me as their coach as well. And and we've talked about consistency is key. That's what they needed. Yeah. And I offered.
That's something that you couldn't help. That's something that was it wasn't by choice. It was literally things that were helping you that you had to prioritize, and you get a personal level with your clients, as I am with all of mine. And when going through my mum that had MND, I was inconsistent with clients, but they understood that I was caring for my mother. So it's something that you can't help that's come up, and people are people, and they will be understanding,
And they were, and I think as a coach, you want to make sure that they get the best out of it. So I offered, I made recommendations. Look, I totally understand if you can't wait for me to recover, and because you have to be consistent. And every one of them just went, no, Lise, we'll wait. And that was really touching for me, because I was like, right, well, I'll get better faster. I'll be back really faster. And so I got it from all angles. I got it from clients, I got it from friends, I got it from family. And it was just, and also, like I said before, I'm stubborn. I'm just stubborn. I was like, no, not today.
Yeah.
Today.
This is why you're here today. You know what I mean? So what was, so from diagnosis, what was the speed of that operation that you went into? Was it
very fast? Because I went private. So it was incredibly fast. So the Mohs Centre of Excellence is in St Helens Hospital, which is a phenomenal hospital, really lovely facility. Okay. So all of my private consultations were at Wiston Hospital, and the actual surgeries have all been performed, and all the biopsies have all been performed at St Helens Hospital. So I think I found out the news on a Tuesday. A week Saturday, I had my operation.
Wow, that's speedy.
Crikey. Yeah, very, very much.
That's what you need, and that's what you want from what you've got. That's. Yeah. So from having that treatment, what was the effect that had on you physically and mentally? Physically, we probably know the perspective you probably had to take it again without wanting to, a backseat from the gym. But what about the mental side of it too?
It was really hard.
Yeah.
It's like, so everybody, no matter how confident you are, has an Achilles heel of some description. So something about themselves they're not particularly comfortable with. Something that if you were in a room of 100 people, 95 people would never notice that thing about you, but you're hyper aware of it. Okay. Yeah. Mine is my nose. My father did not bless me with the best nose. My father's family don't have the best nose. So I'd had this nose and contemplated multiple nose jobs throughout my life. I'm just too scared to have them chisel away at my nose. So I never ended up having a nose job. So it was like, let's find the one thing you're most paranoid about and let's make it worse.
Right. Okay.
Are you kidding me? So I was already so conscious about not drawing attention to my nose. Yeah. And then he literally drew and cut a big circle on the side of it and stitched another piece of skin on top of it and left me like Frankenstein. And then when the stitches and everything come out, you have to let air get at it. And I'm not going to hide away in the house. So that was for me a big thing about facing the outside world. And people look and and you know what? It didn't look great. It really didn't look great. And I just kind of would have to just go, right, we're doing this and I can't put makeup on it and I can't do this and I've just got to get on with it. And then I kind of thought, well, I can't even see it. Everyone else can see it, but I can't see it. I'm just going about my everyday life. I'm not in front of a mirror. I can't physically see it. It's numb. I can't feel it either. So I just get and crack on with things. And I did, but it did, my confidence did take a little bit of a knock at that time, but then I healed so quickly that it was like no time whatsoever that it was healed. And I'm scarred. I have a circle on the side of my nose. So if you are up close and personal, and also it's not completely flush anymore either, it does dip in, and in certain light it kind of goes over the bridge of my nose as well. Right. So it's visible and it can be seen. I'm lucky I can cover it with makeup. Most interactions people don't even notice it. No. You don't even notice it because my surgeon was that good. But it's still there, and as soon as I take my makeup off, it's different colour than the rest of my face. So it's very much, it's a reminder constantly for me. And so I look after myself. I look after my skin a lot more. I'm very, very careful. I wear Factor 50 every single day, and have done. I didn't go in the sun for nearly 3.5 years.
This
year we spoke about what was new. I went on 2 summer holidays, and that was scary because I was going to be in the sun And I just took every precaution that I can because, you know, vitamin D is good for us.
It is, yeah.
It is good for you. You know, the sun is not the enemy here. It was the exposure to ultraviolet light in that environment over a prolonged period of time, etc., etc. So, and my skin type, not using, you know, SPFs, etc.
Yeah.
So lessons learned and all the rest of it. But it's kind of made me view beauty in a very, very different way, because I just kind of think, you know, we can all admire something that's really, really beautiful and it can look great and everything else, but actually you are a vessel, aren't you? And it's the same with your body.
Yeah, it's true.
And when people get to know you, people may initially be attracted to the physicality of somebody. It's when you get to know somebody and you get to know their traits and who they are and what they're really about in their soul, that you realize the beauty of people that has very little to do with the physicality. And I don't know about you, I've known some very, very beautiful people over the years that are not nice people, but they physically look beautiful, and you just think, you know, and I think, not that I've ever judged anyone, you know, from their physicality and things like that, because I don't, because I'm a firm believer getting to know people for who they are, but I definitely felt the society's kind of almost like, you know, she's tarnished. But then I look at it as like a battle scar now, and I just think,
exactly. It's just a strength.
It's a strength, yeah. And so I've had to do that.
I think when we first met and chatted very first of all, I couldn't notice. I still can't notice anything that's there. You know, as yourself, you know, when you have an insecurity, you're always overcritical about that thing yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
But anything, I think it's a battle scar that I don't think is visible. And I think it's just a testimony of your strength for what you've achieved and what you've been through, isn't it?
Thank you. And it's like women who've had babies and have stretch marks and everything else, the ones that own it are like, you know, I earn these stripes. It's a similar sort of thing. I think there are always two mindsets to everything. There's the victim mindset, and I have no time for victim mentality. No. I really don't. I have a zero tolerance policy for victim mentality. You can have a moment to wallow. That's fine, but you get a moment, and then tell me about what you're going to do. Don't tell me about your problems. Tell me how you're going to fix it. What's your plan? Okay,
be productive.
Be productive. You know, and there are always silver linings to everything. I have learned that I am one of the most tenacious people that I know. I have learned that my outlook and my mindset of things, I will always find the silver lining of any situation. I have learned boundaries. I have learned tolerances. Yeah. I have learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about the people around me. I've learned a lot about what actually is important to me in this world. So if I had my time again and I was offered a magic wand to take it all away, I wouldn't. I'd go through the exact same thing all over. I would. Yeah, I love that. I would, because I like me better now than I liked me then.
Wow.
Truthfully.
That's awesome.
Truthfully.
That's something I actually penciled in earlier to ask you that question.
When you went to the toilet, I read it. I didn't.
So did you have a look?
No, I didn't. I promise you I didn't.
I think that's empowering as anything. Because I think.
Yeah.
The pumpkin just fell. Regardless of all the trauma and difficult things you've been through, to say that you own it and you like, or they're going through that was a horrendous ordeal and something that you wouldn't wish on anyone. The strength you've taken from that and how that's built you as a person, as an individual, is empowering as hell. I think that's.
Thank you.
I think it's incredible. I think it's absolutely incredible.
But there is an element of vulnerability as well, isn't it? I don't allow myself to get vulnerable, because when you get vulnerable, you're open to hurt, you're open to hard times, but the human experience from birth to death, we experience these extreme emotions: love, hate, fear, anxiety, lust. It goes on, it goes on, it goes on. Heartbreak, hurt, pain. You know, the human experience is all of these different things. If we all just had a very stable experience, how can you truly appreciate the good if you've never experienced the bad? Yeah, how can you know when something is really bad and it's a call to arms for you to change if you've never then experienced the really good, and you've been given a gift for no reason whatsoever and just seen someone be so really, really happy, and you can take pleasure in something that actually doesn't benefit you in any way, shape or form. There is a lot of simple pleasures in life that I think you get to actually tap into. If you throw your food down your throat, you're not going to appreciate the delicate balances of the flavors. If you chew and you enjoy it and you are in the moment, you will get more joy and satiation from that meal. And life is exactly the same. And I've learned to chew my food slower, because I was a former fat girl, but also by nature and definition of that in life, I have learned to eat every little bit of joy out of life. So I'm not saying I'm this massively positive person and I don't get miffed and annoyed and I have a bit of a mood swing and all the rest of it. I do, 100% I do. But I don't sweat the little things anymore. No. I really don't. And I'm a lot more empathetic to, well, that person's behaved this way. It's really not nice. But actually, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes then. So I'm not going to make any judgment because, I might be getting the butt of this today, but that's keeping that person together. I'm a lot more understanding of that. And I'm a lot more able to let things go than I ever would have done.
I think that's quite powerful. It's quite powerful, isn't it?
Thank you. Thank you.
But it's going through the bad that then makes you even appreciate the good even more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I've just got, like I said to you before, I have these women around me. I can't speak any higher of them. These flipping angels who are by my side, who, really truly love me and want the best for me and have guided me and nurtured me and, wiped away my tears when I've needed it, give me a pat on the back, told me to pick myself up. And I love that. And I love the fact that I have these relationships where I'm accountable. And I feel that way. I owe it to these women to do, because they've supported me and they've helped me. And I owe it to them to do the best I can with what I have because of that. Because if they've put their cards and they've bet on me, then I better deliver. And I think there's a sense of something there that's really, really important. So,
amen.
Amen.
So where would you, if you were to reassess everything that you've been through and how you've combated and got through everything, we'll say everything overall, where do you think you've mastered the strength? Where does that strength come from to get through everything that you've been through and get to where you are today?
Where does the strength come from? Okay, I think life is always about choices, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I think if you choose to let a situation, whatever that situation is, get the better of you, and then that then begins to affect your quality of life. The only thing that we can never get back in this world is time. So time to me is the most valuable thing. So if I give you my time, I really think a lot of you. If I make time for you and I carve time for you, you're important to me. And I think I have realized if you spend time wallowing, you've lost that time and you have taken that from yourself. So you owe it to yourself in this very, 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 very small blink of an eye of a life that we have to eke out as much joy as you can in that situation. And things are going to be hard. You're going to have hard times. You are going to have hard times. So you can choose to wallow, or you can choose to find some strength and go, right, okay, this is what it is. Let's see what I'm made of now. Let's see how I come back from this. Let's see how I can turn this situation around and turn this into gold somehow. Yeah. So I maintained my physique right throughout this massively inconsistent training. Not that the physique was any sort of priority, but it was a focus. It was a focus. If you've got clients doing Bulgarians, you say pick a spot on the wall and focus. Yeah. Drive through the heel. Do it, right? You give them cues. I picked a spot on the wall. Every single time I picked a spot on the wall and I didn't lose my focus. Cancer is not going to beat me. I'm going to war with you. You've just declared war on my face and I'm going to fight back. Yeah. And the surgeon can take as much flesh as he needs to take, but you're gone. And I'll deal with the wounds afterwards and I'll deal with the battle scars of that, but I'm going to win. It's that simple. And I have that approach to everything. You said I can't go back to the gym after I had a stroke. Watch me. Yeah. You said I wouldn't be able to do this. Watch me. And I'm not saying that could come across as being very, very reckless. I don't get me wrong, I have medical people around me giving me advice. I have coaches. I have a lot of people in the fitness industry. I had a lot of people, a lot of information and education that I could call upon. So it wasn't just kind of like I was cavalier and I went out there. No. I sought advice and opinions constantly. I second guess myself as well. Not because I second guess myself, but because I want to make sure I do it right. So I'm not frightened to ask for an opinion. But I'm also not frightened to ask for your opinion, then not do that because I will process that and then think, oh, actually, do you know what? I'm going to try this. And if I make a mistake, then I learn from it. I own it, and I can learn from that. Yeah. So I would think the strength came from the absolute inability to fail and the inability to allow myself to ever be a victim. It just wasn't going to happen. Time is important, and I'm going to enjoy my time on this planet one way or the other. Yeah, that's good. I like it. Incredible. So
So would you say it's changed your outlook on life and the way that you live?
I don't sweat it when I spend a bit too much on ASOS these days.
No.
Silver lining.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think my outlook is not really changed too much really from the very beginning of this. It had to. There were adjustments, obviously, but my outlook is be kind, be kind, be kind. I'm not always the nicest person. Sometimes I'm really moody. Don't look at me until I've had my morning coffee. Yeah. If you do, it's on you. It's not on me. But try to be kind. I really try to be more understanding. Some people leave me scratching my head like, but I try to be more understanding. I try to be more empathetic because I have all these empathetic people around me. I'm trying to be more empathetic myself. And ultimately, you know, I just think live your life to the best ability that you can, and where possible, do no harm. And that's literally my outlook on life. It really is. Seize the day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the best way to live, I think. It makes you more appreciative of things, doesn't it, around you? Very much so. Very, very much so. Yeah. You know, I'm appreciative. It's like I said to you before, the whole thing started with my nan dying and things, and I think you take people around you for granted all the time. Like I don't know as much about my nan's life as I should do. When I was like, my mum wrote, to be honest with you, most of, you know, the eulogy, and there were things in that eulogy that I was really beating myself up about, because I was like, why don't I know this? Why am I reading this for the first time? And I'm about to say this at her funeral. And you take a life lesson from that. You do, the people that are important to me, I need to know. It's not because I'm being nosy. I want to know you. If I want to know you, I want to know you. You know, we can't laugh together. I love this quote. We can't laugh together if we can't cry together. That's true. Yeah, if we're going to laugh together, then you make sure you call me if you need to cry, and we'll cry together. And so empathy, definitely. Zest for life, 100%. I'm a nightmare these days. Yeah, nightmare.
Yeah, I'm a nightmare. Got to have all the fun you can. You have to. And protect your boundaries as well. Don't, you know, be tolerant to an extent, but be respectful enough of yourself and your boundaries to not allow other people to waste your time, because your time is very, very precious.
I think that's, I know, with talking about you here, that's something I've probably come through the past few years, the little bits I've been through that people know of. Yeah. I think be more respectful of your boundaries, of your time, and how much time you put into things. What you don't always do things to get something back. No. But there's either you're helping someone, that's fine, that's someone close that you're helping, or there's something you're doing that you're not getting no positives from, more negatives or positives, then you need to kind of like almost cut off a little bit.
Well, you need to know when to draw the line. You do. And I think you can have two viewpoints on this. People who are frightened because they think that they come across as the aggressor. Yeah. Or you know, you can have the opposite approach where you just think, gosh, have I been unfair there? Have I not given that person enough time, or whatever the case is? But I think you have to just go, look, these are my boundaries. These are my 3-strike rule, whatever the case may be. These are my guidelines. Yeah. You have breached the Lisa Booth guidelines, and now you must go. Yeah. And that's it. And I don't look back and I don't feel guilty about it. I move on. Cool. It's having your own core values, isn't it? It is your core values, but I think that comes with age as well. I think it either comes with age or experience. That's true. Or a combination of both. I'm both old and now experienced, so I am particularly wise, like Yoda.
That's where it's all come from. The saying, "From old you become wiser," don't you?
Yeah, you do.
If you could have the knowledge that you have when you were like in your late 30s or 40s, having that knowledge when you were 16, what would you have done when you were 16? It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
But you've obviously had a scare recently, haven't you?
Yeah, so we thought this year was we thought it was behind us.
Positivity.
Yeah, the year of positivity. And it's funny, I have to, you know Alanis Morissette, the singer?
Yes, yeah.
You heard that song, and isn't it ironic?
Yeah, I do.
Right?
Yeah,
I love that song. It's like rain on your wedding day. And it's the irony of certain situations is not lost on me. I had a second summer holiday this year. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trip to Lake Como. And I put this post on my Instagram, and I said last year was about surviving, this year is about living. And I typed it, and I was like, oh, I'm a poet, and it's how I feel, and I'm one with the world and all this. Yeah. 2 weeks later, the surgeon goes, there's an 80% chance there's more skin cancer on your face. I just looked at him, I was like, you see, the thing is, I posted 2 weeks ago, that's not going to work for me, because no. I said publicly this year is about living, not surviving. That's not going to work. And it's funny, and there is the irony, and my friend went, well, it's your own fault. You shouldn't have put it down in black and white on your Instagram. And I was like, but... And I did struggle this time around again. I mean, I'm not saying I haven't struggled in the past. I do. This isn't say I just go, oh yeah, I've got this. Oh yeah, I'm not. Obviously, you internalize things, you deal with things. Like, I'm very good at processing things. I'm very good at giving myself the time and the space I need to process things. I don't react in anger to anything anymore. I sit in things, and I think on things a lot more. But this felt particularly unjust because I thought it's to my face again. So I had 3 biopsies, 1 to the center of the nose. It wasn't enough for them to come for the side of the nose. They were like, let's go for the nose again. 1 to my eyelid, 1 to my forehead, and 1 to my forearm. And he said to me there was changes of vascularity and all the different things they look for. So my surgeon said to me, look, given your history, I think we need to be really realistic here. There's an 80% chance that at least 2 of these are skin cancer. So when I went this Tuesday, having had the biopsies and stitches out and all the rest of it, I walked in and I was ready again for to go to war again. For war. I was ready. I laughed to my coach recently and I said, it's just as well I didn't throw away my armour, isn't it? I kept it in the wardrobe. I didn't sell it on my Vinted account. And I walked in and he said to me, none of them are cancerous, Lisa. None of them are cancerous. They were all something and nothing. And I didn't know how to process that good news because I'm not used to getting good news. Yeah. So I just...
out of your comfort zone.
I was like... Yeah. No, I have questions about what we're going to do.
What's next?
I don't have anything for this.
I've got this war ready. I've got this energy. I'm ready to fight. So
I literally had to have a massage yesterday because I had a big knot here because I've been so tense for days leading up to it, and I was in like this limbo land because I wasn't ready to let go of this kind of new relaxed way of life and go back in because I'd just been fighting. I'd literally had been in fight mode for over a year.
So long.
Yeah, that I didn't. I wasn't. I was very reluctant to let this. I got into this humongous masculine energy of I have to get through. I will get through this. I'm a mum. I'm a wife. I'm this. I'm that. I've got to get through this. And then I've gone into this really lovely kind of soft feminine energy, and I felt really great about myself. And I was like, yeah, and I'm not disfigured, and I'm not and I'm cancer free. And then all of a sudden, so I didn't want to go back to that place. So I tried to kind of keep myself at bay as much as I could.
Yeah.
And then it turns out I didn't need to, so I didn't need to go down that road.
No, which is incredible.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
I'm very, very pleased.
We met prior to when you were getting the biopsies, weren't we? And we were still going to go ahead and record today. And I'll share this. I was very 50-50. I was like, this is a lot to talk about when you're going through that again and reigniting all that and the feelings and everything you're sharing here is incredible. But to live through that yourself and to have that scare again, to talk is so brave.
I think I think I'm able to detach. Yeah. And when I say detach, I don't mean bury my head like an ostrich. I mean I'm very good at departmentalizing things and detaching. So what I mean by that is, okay, you've been hit with, and I think this is a skill set, but I think this is a skill that can be developed. So for example, if you receive some bad news or you are going through a bad time in your life, whatever that may be, there is always an element of a reaction. You will always have some form of reaction. It could be an internalized reaction and an externalized reaction, but there will be a reaction. You will think on this and feel a certain way. And I have learned to go, right, this is that thing. So I know you're here. You're a physical thing, but I'm going to just put you there. You're there. You're not going anywhere, but I'm not going to do anything about you until I've had time to look at you, review you, walk around you, scan your dimensions, take in every aspect of this. And then when I do that, then I will pick it back up and go, right, okay, so now let's be pragmatic about this. What are we going to do about this? And it could be that the outcome is still there could be that there are 3 bad outcomes, but one of them will be the lesser of the bad outcome. Yeah. And that's what I do about all things in my life. I'm not as reactive as I used to be. And that's definitely something that I have honed in on over these past kind of 18 months. I'm much more able to process things intellectually and emotionally and then deal with them in a controlled way, rather than be reactive to whatever it is. So I don't necessarily break down in tears about something that's really hurtful. I might break down in tears in a week's time about it when I've processed it and I've thought about it, and I'm hurt or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But I tend to not be reactive in that moment to things anymore. And I think that there's a real power for people who they can actually do that, because that means you are able to cope with a lot of things. And in this world, in this day and age that we live in, people are all juggling a lot. Like you said before, we are juggling a lot. So your ability to cope with that is really important.
It is, but it's a strength as well, because you walked in, that Tuesday, you were ready. You had your armor ready. You were ready to go to war and to go to fight, and that's because of what you've experienced in the past. That you're ready for that and you're ready to fight. And I'm gonna get through this.
Yeah, 100%.
Nail it, which is amazing. So you've answered my next question. I was going to ask you. I was going to say to you, would you change anything? You've already answered that for me. You said no, which I think is empowering as hell. So really, now just to kind of getting towards closing up now. So is there any words of wisdom that you give to someone that's going through a potential diagnosis, or they have something they're not sure to get checked or not, or something abnormal? What words of wisdom would you give to that individual?
So I would say, first of all, there's no right or wrong way to feel. You just feel how you feel. And if you feel overwhelmed and you do find yourself going into victim mentality, that's okay. That is okay. But you can't stay there, because that's not good. And there are lots and lots of cultures and lots of societies where it has been proven that positive mindset and your view and your outlook has had an impact on treatment. And they talk about the placebo effects and lots of different things. So I firmly am a humongous advocate and believer that you have to try to remain positive via whatever means that takes. And if that means that you have to change up your support system, then you change up your support system. If that means that you need to take yourself out for walks, or you need to spend a little bit more self-care, then you do that. If it means you need to reduce your hours at work and you can financially afford to do this, or you can make some cutbacks to do that, then you do that. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Mm-hmm. And one of the other things that I realized is that, especially as a mum and, as a female, men, please don't shout at me here. We do take on a lot of the burden of the household, especially if you're traditional and you have traditional values, which I do. So you take on the bulk of the housework and all the household duties and the children, the responsibilities and everything else. And if you go down, those dominoes go down with you. They do. So you have to, like when you're on a plane and they say, put your mask on first, you have to, at some point, especially if you have a diagnosis pending, you've got to put your mask on first, and you've got to make sure that you're okay, because then when you are in a position where you're okay, you can then, your caregiving and your ability to process and reason and move forward and be more open to the treatment, etc., is going to be higher. So you do that however you do that, however you need to do that to get there to that place. That's what you do. But you always have to look for the good, because no matter what the situation is, there will always be, even if it's not necessarily good, there will be the lesser of the evils. And that's what you have to focus on. It's the spot on the wall. You focus. You climb the mountain. You don't climb it in one go. You climb a ledge. You find your next footing. You climb the next. That's what you do. And that is how you move forward. And that's how you stay positive. And that's where the strength comes from. It is an accumulative process of individual steps. That's my advice.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Cool. So that's us.
Done. I'm not going to be sick no more. So I'm done feeling? Now. I'm retired. I'm retired.
How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, very good. It's very cathartic to talk about things like this, isn't it?
It's a lot, and you're sharing a lot, because you've been through a lot. Comparing to anyone's other life experience, you shouldn't compare anyone to anyone else, but you've been through an awful lot, and you just come up and keep fighting, and it's a massive strength for you and how far you've come. The things you've learned in the gym and everything that you've been through has strengthened you as an individual, as a character.
It has. I didn't say that in this podcast, but that's very, very true. That mental fortitude, which we did talk about a lot in the last podcast. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we actually talked about this at the very end of the last podcast, but that mental fortitude was my platform to help me move forward with all of this, because I already had that resilience. Yeah. I already had that determination anyway. That was part and parcel of my, my genetics and my makeup now. And I've just taken that and I've used those skills and built upon them as I've gone forward with this. And then it's built momentum and so on and so forth. So again, training, there's just no bad things from training. There just really aren't any bad things from.
Because it teaches you discipline.
Yeah.
And give you a strong focus. So just thank you. You're
Thank
an incredible
you.
person. Amazing for sharing everything here.
Thanks.
I think it's absolutely amazing. And you know, you're now free. You have cleared this week and it's all good. And as I was literally, we were having talks prior to this, and it was like, how are things? And it's just, there's a lot to deal with, and you're a fighter, and it's just incredible, very inspiring.
Thank you.
So just thank you for sharing. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So again, like the last one, I'll let you shout out your socials again in case the people that hasn't listened to the first one.
So at Team LJB Fitness is my personal Instagram. LJB_PT is my personal Instagram, and my book, give it is called Nourish by Lisa, and will be available to purchase.
And what's in the book?
So they are basically, the recipes are, my immune system was shot to pieces after the stroke, and there is some speculation that all of the skin cancers were able to take a hold because my immune system was just nothing there to fight them. So not to say they wouldn't have come later on in life. So the idea of this was, the immune system is a very, very complicated process within the body, but one of the elements that you can help with is nourishment. So I then spent that year spending a lot of time in the kitchen cooking and making sure I was eating from all the different food groups, making sure that I was trying to make my body as strong as I possibly could. And then I started to just record them and record the methods of how I made them, what was in them, photograph them because I'm really into photography, and it kind of just wrote itself, really.
Yeah, awesome. Very excited to see it. So also, if I want to come PT, for example, I'm listening and I want to come PT with you, where do you PT?
I PT at Level Up Gym on Virginia Street in Southport.
Super.
Thank you for having me.
Anything else you want to add?
I'm going to need to have a little drink after this. My mouth's a bit dry.
I'm guessing the people are going to be watching this is part 2, because this has been, I did think before we hopped on the podcast it was going to be a 2-parter, because there's so much to share and talk about here. I think we probably could have even potentially gone even deeper in certain aspects, but I think this is a good amount of info here. But no, just thank you once again. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you found this podcast informative. As usual, we're on all the main platforms. Give it a share, subscribe, all the above. It's great to be back. Thank you for listening. Again, give us a review. It helps the channel out an awful lot. We're going to be in talks about getting Lisa on again, doing a series. So we'll be more Lisa coming. And yeah, just thank you again once again. That's a wrap, and I'll see you guys soon.